Hey guys, Angry Joe here, and I thought I'd do an Eternals vlog movie review since the boys are in Vegas on vacation, and I had to stay behind to play Call of Duty Vanguard. So that's been pretty fun. Uh, no, so I took my girl to see Eternals, the latest MCU film, part of Phase 4 in the MCU, and directed by Chloe, I forget her last name, and it's just a lot of people on the internet are going crazy, right? Oh, this is the worst MCU film, and critics are, I think it's a little better. What I'm trying to say is, I think it's a little better than what critics are giving it credit for. Now, here's my story. I kind of wanted to hate this film as I was going into it because I was like, there's a superhero atrophy, and you're like, I'm getting tired of this, and this looks kind of boring. The CGI looks really bad. And I don't give a shit about these Eternals. A bunch of fake ass Superman running around. How are you, and people always complain about Superman's not relatable, blah, blah, he's so boring. And what do you got? You got 10 Superman now flying around. And so I went into the film almost kind of wanting to hate it. And then I was watching it. The first act is awful. It is boring. It is. And I was like, oh man, here we go. This is going to be bad. But I got to admit, as it went on, it started to win me over. And I think that is primarily due to, Harish Patel. Karun, I think his name is. He's like this camera guy who is the assistant to Kingo, Nanjani's character. Those two are hilarious. They give the film a sense of reality, or based, down to earthness, and calling out crazy shit and just making really good jokes. And I liked that part. And so as the film goes along in its second act and gets funnier, and I start to like some of the characters. And when you like some of the characters, you're willing to forgive some of its drawbacks. Because that first act, it literally opens in a huge CGI fight. It is essentially the Eternals is told in two different timelines. When the Eternals first arrived on Earth in Mesopotamia, and then in current day. And their sole job is like, where the fuck have the Eternals been, right? We've had like 24, 26 movies. Where they been at, these most powerful, heroes. And they were told by a celestial being to not fucking interfere, and their only job is to fight these deviants. The problem is that the deviants are the dumbest looking CGI fights ever. And when you freeze frame, people have done it on Twitter, freeze frame, at least Athena's character, she looks awful. And a lot of the time, they're not using practical effects. They're making the entire suit CGI, but then the entire character's face CGI. When they fight a CGI monster. And so while it might look good upon initial viewing and in a big theater, if you watch this again with more scrutiny, it's going to fall apart because the CGI battles are awful. As it went along and we start to explore some of these characters, I didn't think they could do it, and they ended up doing it. We have Cersei, which is played by Gemma Chan. We have Icarus, Richard Madden from Game of Thrones. We have Thena, Angelina Jolie. We have Ajak, Salma Hayek. She's underutilized, and so is Angelina Jolie. And then Kingo, I told you before. Sprite, who I freaking hate this character. Fastos, Brian Tyree Henry. Makari, Lauren Ridloff. Druid, Barry Keoghan. He's got a really cool power. He can control people's minds, but he doesn't really ever use it much against the deviants, but he uses it for his own means. Don Lee as Gilgamesh, Kit Harington as Dana Whitman, which eventually becomes the Black Knight from the comics, if you know that. And then there's Deviant Crow, as sort of like the villain, Bill Skarsgård, and David Kai as the Celestial Arishem, the Judge. So all the stuff having to do with Celestials and Arishem and these 10 powerful Superman-like beings. Some of them are kind of weak. They don't have flight. They don't have super strength. I like Sprite. Sprite just like makes fireworks, and okay, fine. She's an illusionist. She can play with tricks on your mind, duplicate things. So I don't know. Some people can like that, but I just hated her character. Here's the problem: some character motivations in the film are not believable. They break your sense of disbelief, because it's like, what? Why would she ever do that? That makes no sense. And then this character does something where it's like, nope, I'm out. And it might be more realistic, but when you factor in all of the stuff that came before, you're saying that character kind of had an about face and just kind of did something. And that's true for Icarus. That's true for Sprite. That's true for let's see. What's the Kingo? Kingo's character. And so it starts to fall apart a little bit again in that third act, at least on character motivations. But with so many characters, 10, and I thought that actually there were more. They cut 2 of them. She originally was going to do 12 Eternals. I thought they actually did an okay job of setting up everybody's personality, what they like to do, what their powers are, and how they factor into the team. But jumping back and forth between the time periods makes it a little jarring, and they try to give all the characters not necessarily equal screen time, but as much screen time as they can for each. And maybe it would have been better if they focused on a smaller group. But, so you have the story unfolding, and essentially, and I'm going to avoid spoilers until the spoiler section, but essentially, it's, when the Eternals, let's see, it deals with the Celestials and a world-ending event. So the stakes are high. I've seen people say the stakes aren't high. It's like, what are you talking about? The stakes are, very, very high. It has to do with the Earth completely in danger or not. And it has to do with the Celestials, the fucking galactic, like the most powerful beings in the MCU. And I'm wondering if this is what people mean when it says MCU's going in a different direction. No, it's not. I mean, it does feel like an MCU film, other than the fact that you essentially might have, 10 superpower. At first, I thought the Eternals, because their name, right, are super powered and they're all fucking Captain Marvel's power level, but I don't think that's actually true. Maybe Icarus is the strongest of the group, and maybe Gilgamesh, who's known for just being the brute and the biggest, she's as strong as her. But the rest of these characters, Ajak in particular, Salma Hayek, she's got the powers of healing, but she just gets her ass kicked, if she's in battle and stuff. So they are a little more vulnerable. I guess Eternals refers to the fact that they never die. And I gotta mention that the film is extremely long. It is 2 hours and 37 minutes. It's like a fucking Avengers film in one. And as the film was going on, I looked at my watch. It was like an hour in, and I'm like, holy shit, like, is this about to wrap up? Because this is nowhere near wrapping up. And it was nowhere near wrapping up. There was plenty more. Now, because eventually in the second act I got into it, I didn't mind. But if you don't get into it, you're going to be like, this is really fucking long. This is really fucking boring. And The Eternals is a perfect name for it, because it is just eternally long. But I liked it. And that may be my predisposition for Superman-powered beings. And then the stakes. And the idea of the Celestials. And the idea that Marvel is not afraid to play around with their most powerful beings, which they're doing here, full on. And I like that. I'm a comic book person. I enjoy comic book stories when I read them. I don't have a big collection or anything, but this is definitely a comic book type of storyline. They're basically doing these Jack Kirby storylines that weren't successful when they came out in like 1967 or something, and they were canceled. But over the years, the Eternal stories have been done over again, and even Neil Gaiman took on the Eternal stories. Now, unfortunately, the story here, it's adapted and it has elements from all their different iterations, but it's just not quite as compelling if you don't identify with a lot of the characters. You don't really care about the characters. I cared most about the assistant, Kingo, until the end where he pissed me off. And, so the main leads, it kind of centers around Cersei. Cersei taking power and leading the group from Ajax. And I thought her character was pretty boring. It has, I guess, Marvel's first sex scene, if you could call it that. It's insulting to call it that. They got their clothes off and they're laying on top of each other. That's basically it. She's got a relationship with Icarus, Cersei. So you get your first sex scene there. But now, in present day, she's got a relationship with Kit Harington, Dane Whitman, who eventually becomes Black Knight. I didn't really believe the love thing didn't really work. So Icarus and Cersei's love thing did not really work to me. And so sometimes when the film feels like it's being more, has more gravity, it doesn't. It doesn't for me. It's not working. The final battle, again, I don't want to ruin anything, but, there are plot turns and twists, and they end up fighting people you wouldn't think that they would fight. You think okay, we're going to do this deviant. There's going to be a bunch of CGI, and they do have multiple battles against the deviants with full-on CGI, especially as they go around the world collecting each and every individual Eternal to form a group, to then sort of turn it on an even greater threat. And I think you know what the even greater threat is out there in the galaxy. And so overall, I liked it. I thought it was better than a lot of critics are giving it shit for. However, it does have some problems, and if you're not a comic book fan, you're probably not really going to be into the story. You're going to think it's a bunch of gobbledygook nonsense, and I don't give a shit about the characters. But because I'm predisposition, Superman lover, high powers, Celestials, a little bit of the Eternal stuff, I thought it was alright. Angelina Jolie underutilized, Salma Hayek underutilized, and they focus more on Icarus and Cersei. And really who holds up the film is Gilgamesh, Don Lee, how he takes care of Fina and Kingo, definitely. And now I like Nanjiani. I even like that Uber film that he did, and with Batista. And so his comedy and his timing is perfect, and I loved it. But the Deviant Crow was very disappointing, and I noticed 2 plot holes as you got into the final act. So it falls apart a little bit towards the end with another CGI battle, but it does have huge implications. It has 2 post-credit scenes, one that begs for Eternals 2, and one that sets up more of the Black Knight. Why get Kit Harington if he's only going to be in a handful of scenes as a weak love interest for Cersei? Well, they kind of show you that they plan to do more with his character in the future. Okay, so let's give final verdicts on it. This is difficult. It's not in the top tier. I think there's worse Marvel films, like I said before. I think it's on the lower end of the mid-tier in the MCU. So I would probably give it's between a 6 or a 7. And my predispositions, as I told you before, I kind of love how the stakes and the fact that they're playing around with the Celestials and, the Eternals, which opens up a whole new branch. I'd rather see the X-Men than them open up a whole new branch of the Eternals, because now you have to shove these guys in all the goddamn films that are coming forward. How are they going to handle the Kang the Conqueror? How are you going to handle 10 characters in this film alone? Oh, and I want to say they don't, how do I say this without spoiling? They're not afraid to do a Game of Thrones on their characters here, and I respected that. So ultimately, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10 for me. I see its flaws, but I don't think it's as bad as some critics are saying, and this is going to flop and all that other stuff. There's enough star power, and there's enough comedy and a genuine, solid direction. I hear that Chloe is a much better director than what she directed here. She's more creative, but here it comes through every once in a while that she's very, very solid at directing. So 7 out of 10 for this. Much rather them have introduced the X-Men into this phase, but I guess the Eternals is what this phase is, and X-Men's gonna be phase 5, right? Whatever. Anyways, so that's it for the non-spoiler section. Stick around if you want the spoiler section. Okay? Alright. Okay, spoiler section. Well, this film basically has some betrayals in it. Turns out that the Eternals are basically automatons, like robots that were robot-type beings that were created by the Celestials. And their purpose isn't to just fight the deviants on planets across the galaxy, but rather to fight deviants on planets across the galaxy in order to protect humanity. The real reason, in order to protect the population of these planets, so the population can grow to a sufficient amount in order to be used as food for celestial being births. So the celestial Arishem sends seeds across the galaxy, and the Earth just happens to be one of those seeds. And currently, after all the events in the MCU, there is a why? Well, after the snap, all the people came back. Then there's more people, and the Celestials about to be born on Earth. And what they do is they come through the planet, and the planet explodes as they're born. So obviously, the Eternals, who have been falling in love and stuff, and been protecting the humans and living amongst the humans, don't want that to happen and start protecting the Earth and stuff. And that's where some of the character motivations are screwed up. Because it turns out that Icarus is a betrayer. Richard Madden's character he figured that out a long time ago from the leader of the group, Ajax, Salma Hayek, who tells him this, and he kind of, and she wants to stop it. And he goes crazy because he wants to do his job. He's like, yeah, you may be saving humanity, but you're killing billions of more because the Celestials handle populating other planets and other things. And he's got a point. And honestly, they kind of have a point. It's like, well, why do save humanity or save billions of other beings in the universe? Do they not have equal right to be born and live? But whatever, we're so important here on the Earth that it's the fact that these Eternals never really had free choice, being automatons, and the fact that they've grown and fallen in love with people on Earth, and now they want to save the Earth. So they fight, and Icarus fights, and people actually die. And that's why I gave the film a little bit better rating. I couldn't really say it in there, that they had the balls to kill some of the Eternals. So turns out that 2 Eternals, I think, die. It was, let's see, who dies? Ajax, Salma Hayek, is killed by Icarus's character when, he knows that she's going to try to rally the group to stop them. He kind of betrays her and throws her down a cliff where there's a bunch of deviants who have been reawakened from the ice. And they all kill her, and it's like the leader of the group has no ability to fight any of the fucking deviants, not even like one. Nah, she gets her fucking ass kicked, and it sucks. And then Gilgamesh dies, Don Lee, protecting Athena, Angelina Jolie's character, and I guess it's sort of implied that he loves her. I don't know if it's a romantic love, but it's certainly a platonic love, and then maybe romantic. It didn't come through very well, but he's just protecting her whole life because she's having this madness where her eyes go white and she attacks other Eternals throughout history on planet Earth, and they have to restrain her, and he decides, I will help and I will restrain her because I love her. Now, why was she doing that? Well, she was actually, people thought she was just crazy. It was a sickness and whatever. But no, it was her previous memories from when the Eternals have done this many times before, birthing Celestials. The planet explodes, they are protected by the Celestial themselves, and then they redo it on a new planet. And she's just remembering those and fighting and going crazy and trying to warn people. Why she wants to kill the other Eternals instead of warn them, I don't fucking know. I guess it is a sickness, so maybe another plot hole there. But one of the plot holes I thought was Sprite. So Icarus is an asshole, and he's like, "Fuck this! I'm gonna kill you all because I want the Celestials." So he's gonna kill his friends and his love, and they kind of have a fight, and then he reveals himself to be a betrayer, and then he leaves, right? Because he doesn't want to, I guess, do battle right then and there on their ship, though he destroys the ship later on. He leaves, and Sprite just follows him. And why she, it makes no sense. Oh, because she loves him. There's like one or two lines where, oh, Sprite's in love with Icarus. But when you're in love with somebody, you're in love with their personality, their view on things, and who they are, and how, maybe kind and nice they are. So it doesn't make sense because, his personality completely changes, and yet she still loves him. And it's further compounded by the fact that she's spending so much time with Ajax, which he fucking killed. Like, if somebody kills your best friend, you're gonna have different feelings about them. And she's killing fucking, Eternals and allowing all this stuff to happen. But no, I just love him. And never does she mention that she loves him. Never does she try to get anything from him. She just wants to be near him. And I thought that was fucking stupid. So fuck Sprite's character. And Sprite had made up the story of Icarus flying too close to the sun, which is poetic in the film, because when he finally realizes that he's wrong, because at the final battle, he's about to kill Cersei, who Cersei has come up with this plan because she's the new leader of the team from Ajax, wanted her to be the leader instead of him, because he didn't believe in protecting the earth. She basically gets Phastos, the engineer guy, to create this mind meld thing where all the Eternals' minds get put together, except for not all of them, which doesn't make sense, to then fight or delay a Celestial. And while she's doing that, he's about to kill her, but he can't because he's in love with her. And that's it. And he cries, and then he actually joins the mind meld in order to stop them. And then they end up killing a Celestial. I thought they were going to delay a Celestial, but they fucking kill a Celestial. So not only is it like, whoa, we're going to save humanity in order to kill a Celestial and kill billions of beings across the galaxy, that Celestial would have been populating more. So it's like, wow, I don't know. Are we the bad guys? And from a certain point of view, we are. And from Icarus' point of view, we are. And so that was actually kind of a cool thing. And then Icarus is so upset and suicidal, he flies into the sun. Get it? Poetic? There it is. And he told Sprite during this battle to protect, an area, protect the Celestial being born, because some of the Eternals come to try to delay or stop it. And she starts fighting Cersei. And she uses illusions to make a bunch of different volcanoes so that Cersei doesn't know where stuff is going to do her mind meld. And then she fucking stabs Cersei in the back. It's like, but you've spent time with Cersei, you're like friends with her and Ajax. It's just stupid. It doesn't fucking make any sense. What makes more sense, but I still was like, oh man, is that Kingo. He uses like little lasers. That's his thing. From his hands, and then he creates like a little Kamehameha and then fires it every once in a while. But when the plan is figured out, he actually agrees with Icarus, but he doesn't want to fight his friends and kill his friends. Now, I thought that character motivation was screwed up a little bit, because it's like he is the one that's most embedded in humanity. He's this movie star. He's a Bollywood star. It's so fun, and I love it. And his assistant is awesome. He likes his assistant. He likes his crew. He's so nice to his crew. And all these character traits, but then actually it turns around, he doesn't want to protect humanity. He doesn't give a shit if all these fucking people die. Fuck Kingo then, really. And then he decides, no, I'm not going to help. And he's gone for the whole third act of the film against the fight against Icarus and stopping the Celestial. And then at the end he comes back like, and then you get your happy ending and everybody likes it. It's like, man, fuck you, dude. You fucking leave. Now, the director has said that she wanted, the different Eternals to have different elements of humanity. So obviously this one was supposed to represent the fact that he's a pacifist, doesn't want to fight. But that's not true. He wants to fight the deviants, and he does help protect his friends and the deviants. Wants to protect the Eternals, but doesn't want to protect his other friends. Again, doesn't really make much sense. And then finally, the whole plot point with Deviant Crow, he starts killing as he's killing Eternals, Gilgamesh and Ajax, because she was thrown by Icarus, he absorbs all her powers and he gains sentience. And he realizes that the Celestials are fucking assholes too, and that our two races. Even says it at one point to Thena's character when Angelina Jolie is fighting. She's supposed to be the most badass fighter, and she's always wanted to fight Icarus. And that's a little cool subplot where they eventually kind of do a little bit of fighting. But Deviant Crow tells her, we're both of our races are being used by the Celestials. So it makes no sense then that he fucking helps. Now, I may have missed it. Put it in the comments if you caught it. Because he does say something as he shows up and deflects a blast at Icarus from the Eternals. And it's like, why are you helping him? And I couldn't fucking hear him because there's a bunch of fucking shit in the theater. And just like, they're trying to do plot points in the middle of a battle. But it doesn't make sense that he protects Icarus, who is the one that's trying to birth and destroy the Earth, and he would be fucking, he's like more pissed at the Celestials than he should be at the Eternals. It doesn't make any sense. So he should help the Eternals to kill a Celestial, to stop a Celestial, so that his people, will, be able to break free from the fucking Eternals and shit. But no, I guess he protects Icarus because he wants the Eternal to be born, because he thinks that the Eternals will die on the planet. No, they have their memories stored by the Celestial in some fucking place that he built, their headquarters, and then they go on missions to do these planets. So they're protected by the Celestial himself when the Earth explodes, because it's the same Eternals on new planets. They have memories from other planets, so that it just didn't make sense. I didn't understand that. Maybe you can explain it to me, but even if you can't explain it, the Deviant Crow was a complete disappointment, a complete CGI mess, and his motivations are screwed up. Not a compelling villain. And Icarus turning against the group, the betrayal and actual people dying on it, I enjoyed. I liked that part. I also like the Celestial comes at the end. He says, "You motherfuckers. You fucking killed the Celestial," and he's like, it's time. He's the judge, right? Yeah, the judge. Celestial Arishem, the judge. He's come to judge you, motherfuckers. And he's like, fine, I'll judge humanity. I'll be back, or something like that. And he actually captures our three main characters. He captures. So the last scene is our heroes disappearing. Cersei, Phastos, and Makari, I think, or Druid, maybe. I don't remember who. So anyway, they disappear, whilst the rest of the Eternals repair the ship, and they plan to free all of the rest of the Eternals all across the galaxy and give them free will. Those Eternals are, those Eternals I think are, let's see, Makari, Druid, and Athena, I think, are going across the galaxy for that. But then they can't find any Eternals. It turns out they've all disappeared, so I guess the Celestials have said fuck the Eternals and they've got him prisoner, or they're going to kill him or something. But then at the last minute, a new Eternal shows up. He's heralded by this little troll-looking guy who gives him a grand entrance. And it's Harry Styles of One Direction. I had to be told this. I heard the audience start laughing, and I was like, why is everybody laughing at the guy who's just coming in? He just looks like a Loki type. But he's Harry Styles from One Direction. So he's going to be in the sequel, I guess, and they're going to have to fight against Arishem, or figure out where all the Eternals are, including our Eternals that protected Earth, and get the group back together. Now, the two Eternals who died, I thought about it, and I said, you know what? They're not really dead. They could be revived. If they're just automatons, they could have new bodies created for them. Because remember, all of their memories are being stored in the headquarters. So Gilgamesh could be back. And that could be a plot point. Athena fights for Gilgamesh. And who else died? Ajax, Salma Hayek's character could come back. A lot of different things. Then the second stinger is the Black Knight with the ebony blade. I always thought the Black Knight used Excalibur, and actually Excalibur is in the movie. Athena uses it at one point. God damn it, my neighbors are doing lawn work. So I gotta wrap this up. But no, he doesn't use the Excalibur. He's got the black ebony blade. It's got this real cool, like, liquid or powers that reacts to him and talks and stuff. So I guess we're gonna get a Black Knight Disney Plus series or a Black Knight movie. I don't know. I know they are begging for an Eternals 2 and they're begging for Black Knight. And I'm like, all right, fine. But these are lesser B, C teams that I don't really care much about, and I'd much rather see the X-Men. But I guess we got to get past Phase 4 in order to get to Phase 5. All right, fuck it. That's it. Anyways, that's it for the spoilers. I think, did I miss anything? I just loved all the Bollywood stuff. And I hated Sprite. And yeah, god damn it. Okay, bye.